I'm Victoria Pearson, but you can call me V, and I have had a really busy few weeks. I'm so tired. So once again, you are getting a vlog that is just me talking to you today. And part of the things that I've been really busy with is a lot of driving. I showed you the week before last, I think, that we went to Bognor Regis, but I can't remember if I told you the reason that I went to Bognor Regis that week was to look at a university there, Chichester University, for my younger teenager. And you might be thinking, but you did all the university open days last summer. Well, that was with a different child. I've got two teenagers that are very close in age. There's only 18 months between them. And so having just done all of the university open days applications and all that sort of thing for my older child, I am now doing it again for my younger one. And so I'm thinking a lot about sort of my children passing out into the world now, and it's been an emotional few weeks, especially because we went last night to an awards ceremony at my daughter's school, where they give out things like attendance awards, which honestly I don't agree with at all. I think they're quite ableist, but they also give out awards for effort and good behaviour and academic excellence, things like that. My daughter won two because she's also senior student. It's like the equivalent of a head girl sort of thing, and so she got a few certificates there, and we're very proud of her. She was very good, and I'm very proud of my 9-year-old as well, who sat so nicely through 2 hours of clapping for various children that he didn't know and was very well behaved. But it was an emotional experience. There was a lot of talk in that about moving on to your next steps in life, forging your path, finding what is the right thing for you to do. There was some really good advice in there. There was also some quite bad advice. One of the things that I thought was quite bad advice was when one of the teachers said to the children, just say yes to every opportunity. And although that sounds very good if you don't think about it too hard, for some children, especially for my child, that could be quite detrimental advice. You say yes to everything and you are going to end up horrendously burnt out. So I think if I was giving advice to teenagers moving on to their next steps in life, I would say use your discernment about what you say yes to, that you do not have to say yes to everything. And I just don't want to is enough of a reason to say no to somebody. Because I think for some people, myself included, they find it actually very difficult to say no. Saying yes to the opportunities isn't the problem. The problem is saying yes to all of the opportunities and ending up with absolutely no energy left to effectively do any of the things that you have said yes to. And so I thought that was a bit, maybe not very well thought through. But in general, it was a really nice assembly. It was very emotional. They had a few of the younger kids do some performing, which was nice. Don't get me wrong, they were very talented. It was a bit strange watching a dance performance in the middle of all of that. It felt a bit out of place to me. But the children there were very talented, and the song that they chose to sing was Slipping Through My Fingers, which was kind of an emotional gut punch when we're at the very last assembly that our children will ever have in compulsory education. I thought that was a bit mean. I thought my mascara might end up running, but we were okay in the end. And so I'm thinking a lot at the moment about moving on, about next steps, not just for my children and how much I'm going to miss them, because it's such a weird sort of juxtaposition of feelings. Like you're so proud that they have become these fantastic adults that are going to go out into the world and really benefit the world in general, because you've done a great job raising them, they've done a great job applying themselves, and you just know that they're going to go out into the world and be successful, and that's fantastic. But then on the other hand, there's an almost grief that you're going to miss them. Like I've spent the last 20 years just being your mum, and now you're going to be going away. And so I think that over the next year or so, because I've still got another year before my younger teenager goes off to university, but I think over the next year or so, I'm going to be thinking about what my next steps are as well, because although I am still always their mum, regardless of whether they're living here or not, and I will still have my 9-year-old at home for quite some time yet, it kind of marks the start of a different phase in my life as well. I'm not running around after very young children. I'm not having to stop somebody trying to kill themselves every 2 minutes because they've got no risk assessment or sense of danger. All of my children have passed out of that part of their lives now, and they're at the part where they're forming their core personality, their opinions, their values, their moral frameworks that are going to see them through the rest of their life. It's such an interesting stage of childhood development, and I really, really love being part of it. But it's very, very different to having young children at home. Being a parent of adults is a completely different ball game to being a parent of young children. And for me personally, I started my family when I was a teenager. I was far too young. When I had my first, I was only 15. And so my entire adult life has been very, very centered around young children. And so for me, it's going to be a real period of discovery, finding out who I am again without that role so much, or without that role being as prominent in my life as it was. There was a point in time where I had 4 young children at home all at the same time. And now I'm going to be soon in a space where I've only got one child at home, and that child's going to be a preteen. It's going to be so very different and so very strange. And personally, I struggle a little bit with transition times. I struggle a bit when the seasons change. I struggle a little bit when I have to make big change in my life. And so I think the next sort of year or so is really going to be preparing myself for that. I have a feeling I'm going to go through a little period of grief when my daughter moves out in September, but I'm so, so proud of where she's going to, that's going to be crowding my grief out. I'm going to miss her terribly, and it'll be wonderful when she comes home. But I'm so excited for her and the adventure that she's got ahead of her. And I'm hoping that after I've got used to that idea a little bit, I'm going to be able to start getting excited for my own adventure as well, my own next steps of parenting, my own next steps of my lifestyle, all that sort of thing. But at the moment, it's just kind of a little bit scary. And so I'm coping with it the way that I cope with everything, which is to just keep taking lots of big, deep breaths. And hopefully, eventually, it will work out the way it's supposed to. Mind you, that technique has worked out quite well for me because, like I've said many, many times before, there is nothing in this world that ever got better because you worried about it. There is nothing in this world that ever was easier because you got anxious about it in advance. And so we just keep breathing. We recognize that life takes us the way it takes us, and that it's much, much better to go with the flow of the current than try and work against it, because regardless, the river's going to flow that way anyway, whether you're exhausting yourself fighting against it or not. That's a difficult thing to wrap your head around, especially because it is the final relinquishing of any control that you have over that person's life. It is the final sort of untethering where you can no longer keep them safe. Once your child becomes an adult and they go out into the world, you can't protect them anymore. You can't even protect them from themselves. You can just hope that you have given them the tools that they need to be able to do well through that. And I'm very, very confident with my children that I have, and I'm very, very confident that they will feel able to come to me for help if I haven't, if there are tools that they still need, that they've got something missing from the toolbox, they can come to me for help, and they know that, and that's a fantastic thing. Doesn't make it any less of a daunting thing though. And so I think I'm going to spend a little bit of time being quite nervous. I'd love to hear about it in the comment section if you yourself have children that have gone off into the world and become independent now, how you dealt with that change, because I probably am going to need some coping techniques. I think I'm in a tiny little bit of denial at the moment that it's even going to happen. I know it's going to happen, and so at the moment I'm just not thinking about it, but there has to be a better way than that. So if you have any ideas of how I can make myself feel a little bit better about going into this next steps, I would love to hear them in the comment section. But to be honest, I'm feeling fairly positive about it. I'm really, really enjoying the people that my children are becoming. They are fantastic adults. They've got really interesting perspectives on things. They've taught me things that I wouldn't know if they hadn't been around to show me their perspective. And I'm really excited to see what they go through next in their life, and I'm really excited to see where that journey takes them. But I might have a little cry on the way home. I will be back next week, hopefully with something a little bit more sort of put together than this. Again, I am once again doing this on a Friday after an exhausting week, but I'm planning on spending this weekend just doing nothing, just building my little railway on the shared Minecraft server and just not engaging my brain at all, because the last few weeks have been so tiring, and it still feels like quite a long time until my holiday at the end of August. I will be here next Monday. I don't know what I'm going to be talking about yet. As I say, hopefully it'll be something a bit more structured. But if you can't wait until Monday for my next chaos vlog, then I will be here every single morning in your shorts, taking a great big deep breath, letting you know what I'm grateful for. Sometimes I'm letting you know what is challenging me that day, or complaining about my fence. I'm currently sitting here waiting for a fencer to turn up and give me a quote. He was supposed to come Monday. It's now Friday. Apparently he's coming today. So hopefully next week I'll be able to tell you that I've got a fence as well. And I will also be here on a Witchy Wednesday doing an intuitive tarot card for you. I use Tatiana's fortune cards for those, and a deck of my own creation as well. A few of you have asked about which cards. I do normally put it in the description, but do sometimes forget. So just comment and I will reply on there. Until then, you have yourself a magical week.